Hey, what's going on? I am Jay Giggs, and welcome to Raid. I assume there's a lot of newer players watching this, and as a new player in these games, particularly Raid, it can feel like there's a lot going on. You can feel a little bit overwhelmed, not know what to do. There's a lot of mistakes you can make early on that you'll kick yourself for a long time. So I just want to get out ahead of that as best I can, help you feel like you're headed in the right direction, help you avoid some of these mistakes, and also not suck up too much of your time. So I want to go ahead and get into it. Before we get started with this, I do want to say I have a free-to-play series that I upload on every single morning. It's just, you kind of see the progression in real time. It's got a bit of a podcasty vibe to it. We just hang out, have a good time, and you get to see what playing the game is like. I don't just come present success to you in a video. You get to see the process. Sometimes we struggle, sometimes, just all part of it. You get to see what it's like as a free-to-play player trying to work your way through this game. So I'll card to that up there. Yeah, if you want to check that out, there's plenty of episodes, and as I said, I upload every day, usually except Sunday to it. So there's that. Now, let's go ahead and jump into it. When you start the game as a brand new player, you're going to get the option to choose a starter. If you haven't done that yet, and you want to pick the best one, that's going to be Kale. And he is right here. The reason that he's the best is because he's got some poisons in his kit, which is going to enable you to do some good clan boss damage a little bit earlier than you would otherwise. Now, having said that, this doesn't mean you have to choose Kale. It really doesn't matter. They're all going to serve their purpose. You're going to be able to turn all of them into a farmer. You're going to be able to take all of them into arena. They're all going to fit into your earlier game dungeon teams. It doesn't really matter. So if there's one that speaks to you that you'd like more, that you would like to pick them. If you're trying to come out and start things off with the edge, he's going to allow you to do a little bit more in clan boss a little bit sooner. So Kale would be the best starter. But again, it's not a game breaker if you decide you want to pick somebody else. Also, in your first week, in your login rewards, the game is going to give you a piece of lifesteal gear every day. Just put that on your starter. That's going to be a set that you use for a long time. You'll see, this is the free-to-play account. Here's Kale. He was my starter. I'm still pretty much using that lifesteal gear. I have made a couple of upgrades as we've gone along, but the lifesteal set is, again, going to be crucial. It's a killer set. You're going to be farming a lot of dragon to get a lot of lifesteal so that you can put a lot of champs. You can see we got lifesteal, 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 lifesteal. That's because that's our clan boss team, lifesteal, right? Lifesteal is a very important set. Other sets matter too, but just put that lifesteal set on your starter and you'll be good for most of the content for a good while, okay? First, mistake avoidance tip here. This is a big one. Do not feed anything with a blue frame. You'll notice you've got the different frames here, right? So you've got uncommon, which would be, you've got common, which would be white or gray. You've got uncommon, which is green, rare, which is blue, epic, which is purple, gold, which is legendary. Anything blue, purple, or gold, just keep a copy. Don't feed purple or gold, period, right now. Anything with a blue frame, keep a copy of it just because. You don't know who's going to be good. You don't know who's part of a fusion. There's a lot going on. Anything blue frame and above, make sure you keep a copy of it. If it's not someone you want to build, you can see I've got a lot of level 1 champs in my vault. I'm just trying to make sure that I have a copy of everything so that should I decide I need it later for faction wars, a fusion, whatever it may be, maybe they'll catch a buff. There's also some rares that are the blue frames that are really, really good that you just won't know early on, like Apothecary. He is borderline mandatory. He's so good, you don't want to make the mistake of feeding someone like him. Cold Heart is another one. This is Void affinity. Especially do not feed Void champs. Void only comes in rare, epic, or legendary. Do not feed them. Again, epics, do not feed them. Legendaries, absolutely do not ever feed them to another champ. And when I'm saying feed them, in the tavern, you can feed champs to other champs to do things like level them up, rank them up, things of that nature. Don't do it. Ever. Ever with a gold frame, don't feed them. You will regret it someday. There are a lot of legendary champs that used to be really bad, that got buffs and got really good, and people fed them because they were bad. Don't ever do it. Keep them forever. I want to put a lot of emphasis on that. And other than that, anything below, try to at least have one copy of every champ, okay? Because again, you never know when you're going to find out someone's amazing or someone will get buffed. Something will change, right? Now, moving on to another mistake avoidance tip. These tomes right here in your upgrade skills tab, you've got these blue books, these purple books, and these gold and red books, right? They correspond to the rarity of the champ, okay? So blue books you can feed to anything with a blue border or below. Obviously only feed them to things with a blue border. Purple books, same thing. Purple border and below. Right? I'm sorry. Yeah, purple border and below. There's my epic book. My terminology got screwed up for a second there. And then the legendary books, anything with a gold border and below. So don't ever use a book that does not correspond to the rarity. For example, don't ever give a legendary tome to an epic champ. Don't ever do it. Ever. They value these things at about $30 a piece, typically. Sometimes you'll get packs that do it a little bit better. But they tend to value these in their monetary packs at about $30 a piece. So keep that in mind when you're using them. They're very valuable. They're harder to come by. They're getting a little bit easier to come by, but there's nowhere you can just straight up farm them in mass. They're not randomly going to drop from you unless you're hitting the highest levels of Clan Boss. You can get them from the 3v3 arena shop, but that's going to be much later game. The only one you're really going to have access to as far as one that you can get regularly is in your advanced quest, and that's still once a month. So these legendary tomes are very rare, very expensive, very hard to come by. So it's not a bad idea to just hang on to them, let them build up, and they're going to build up as you play, as you go through the game and you go through your challenges and missions and all your new player rewards. You're going to get to a point where you've got, 8 or 9 or a stack. You can never have too many, and you can really never have enough, because there are some champs that require 15. Rhazin is not even that bad, and Rhazin still takes quite a few, okay, to upgrade skills. So it's not a bad idea to let your legendary tomes just sit until you have a good idea of who is worth them. There are some legendaries you pull that you don't want to put tomes into. So, I have a channel in my Discord where it's specifically for asking questions about your champs, about your teams, about things like this. Hey, I just pulled this legendary. Should I put books into them? And I or someone else in my community will get with you and help you get all that sorted. But it's better to err on the side of caution. Just let them build up until you're sure. It would be a real shame, especially as a free-to-play player, to waste these books, okay? Epic books are also very valuable, pretty hard to come by. You can see I've only got one of them as well. Not as hard to come by, but still very rare. And then the rare books are not so bad. You can be a little bit more liberal with your usage of the rare books, but still, try to use them all as effectively as possible, okay? Just let them build up until you're sure. Moving on to gearing. Gearing can be pretty intimidating. There's a lot going on, right? There's a lot of different stats. There's all these sub-stats. There's all these different sets. There's a lot to learn, and there are people that play this game for it takes a really long time to get a grip on gearing. There are people that have been playing Raid for a long time that are still struggling with it, understandably so. There's a lot to consider when you're gearing. What type of champ, what you're trying to accomplish, what sets are best, what stats are best, what thresholds you need to hit. A lot of things to consider. There are a couple of rules of thumb early on that you can apply that will kind of remove that factor, okay? So real quick rundown. I do have a video that goes over this in more depth, but a real quick rundown is, keep in mind, basically for boots, you're almost always going to want speed as a main stat. Very rarely will that not be the case, and it won't be the case until much later. So pretty much without question, speed as a main stat for your boots, okay? Regardless of the set, regardless of the champ, that's what you're looking for. For armor and gloves, you can have a variation of stats. You want the main stat to have a percentage always. You don't want flat stats on the armor or gloves. And you want the stat to correspond to what you're trying to accomplish. So if it's a tankier champion that you're trying to design to take hits, or if they're a healer and you need them to stay alive longer, you're looking for HP percentage or defense percentage as a main stat on your gloves, okay? So like my Rhazin is a defensive champ, we've got both defense. If it's an attacker, you're looking for attack percentage on the armor, and on the gloves, You'd like crit stats, crit rate or crit damage. If you don't have those, attack percentage is fine, okay? So speed is a main stat on the boots, and then a main stat on the armor and gloves that correspond to what you're trying to accomplish. And then don't get too hung up about weapon, helmet, and shield. They are always going to have the same main stat. So weapon is always flat attack, helmet is always flat HP, shield is always flat defense. And what I mean by flat is they don't have a percentage next to them. Okay, that'll never change. So speed is a main stat on the boots, percentage stats that correspond to what you want on the armor and gloves, and then don't get too hung up on these, okay? Again, it's a much more in-depth system than that. You'll learn it as you go. I do have other videos on it. Other creators have other videos on it. It's a lot. Also, don't get too hung up on this right now. You're not going to worry about that till a little bit later. So that's that for gear. Now, at the time of recording this video, every weekend they have some sort of shard event. Shards are what you summon to get your champs, okay? They bounce back and forth between doing 10x rates where they take certain champions and they increase the likelihood that you'll get those specific champions. And then they do 2x events where the rates are doubled. So if we look at our chart here, it tells you what your chances are from each type of shard. So from an ancient shard, you've got an 8% chance to get an epic, a 0.5% chance to get a legendary. They do events where they will double these rates, okay? It is a really good idea to sit on your shards and wait on a weekend, whether it be a 2x where maybe there's a good epic in it, or did I say 2x? I meant 10x if I said that wrong. A 10x with a good epic, or a 2x just across the board. It used to be more advisable to kind of use your shards earlier, but now that they're doing them every weekend, it's not that bad to wait. So don't waste your shards if there's not some sort of special rates going on, because it's happening basically every weekend at the time of recording this video. They may change that in the future. There's no indication that they will, but don't summon your shards unless there's a glowing beam coming out of this thing, basically. There's an animation for when there's a 2x, and it'll be gold, purple, or blue, depending on what event's going on. Don't use your shards unless there's an event corresponding to those shards, right? So if it's 2x sacred, then use your sacreds. If it's 2x voids, then use your voids. Something like that. Now, more very important stuff. This is very important stuff for you to do. Your quest, go into your quest tab. You've got daily quest. You want to do them all every day. It is very important that you do your daily quest every day. You want to get all these tick marks complete, and you want to claim this. Make sure that you do that every day if possible. You also want to do your advanced quest every day. As an earlier player, there's going to be some things that you can't do some days. Some days it's going to want you to beat a faction wars boss or something that you're just not going to quite be ready for yet. That's fine. It's not the end of the world if you can't do all of your advanced quest every day, but do all of them that you can every day, because the more that you knock out every day, the faster you progress through this bar. And there's good rewards up here, especially as a newer player. The 3-day XP boost, 5-star chicken, epic book, legendary book, and it rotates on your pace. So if it takes you 3 months to get through this top bar, then that's how long it'll take. It's not going to reset on you before you finish it, but it's a good idea to cycle through it as fast as you can. Beyond that, stay on top of your weekly and monthly quest as well. You'll see you get a void shard and a sacred shard for completing your monthly quest every cycle. There's some good rewards in your weekly quest, and then again, you should be doing your dailies every day. So stay on top of all of these. These are very important to do. There's a lot of good stuff in here, and again, you get some good shards. Beyond that, you will have a tab as a new player down here that says challenges. I don't have it because I've completed them all, but that is something you want to focus on getting knocked out as soon as you can. There are 4 tabs in it, and it's going to guide you through the game, having you do things in campaign and dungeons and arena and with your champions. Let that kind of guide you around. It gets you familiar with all the content. It gets you familiar with the tavern and the interface of the game. Very important to do, and there's some really good rewards in it. And then your missions. This is a big ongoing project that ends with you getting this Void legendary champion, who is excellent, very good, useful pretty much everywhere in the game. It is a bit of a longer term investment, but you want to let these missions guide you through the game, right? Like right now, we're working on a spider den mission. When we finish that, you know, a lot of them are retroactive, some of them are not. But let these missions guide you through the game. Again, there's a lot of different things to do. When you open up the battle tab, you've got campaign, dungeons, faction wars. It can feel a little overwhelming, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Start in campaign and work your missions. They'll kind of push you into the dungeons when it's time, okay? In the meantime, get in a clan and just be hitting clan boss every day. You can hop in the Discord. There's tons of videos on clan boss. I've got some beginner videos on clan boss. You can hop in the Discord and ask us questions. Link in the description for that. Clan boss, you want to start hitting ASAP and just doing what you can. It'll improve over time, but basically campaign is where you're going to start. Let the missions guide you through the game. Keep your Rhazin Fusion in mind. I might have touched on this a little bit earlier. In your summon hinge, there's a fusion tab, and I've already done it, so the tab is gone for me, but there will be Rhazin, the legendary Lizard Man champ. Excellent champ. There's no question about whether or not Rhazin is worth the effort and resources it's going to take to complete that fusion. So keep an eye on the chart. The chart's going to look different for Rhazin, but anything with a red dot you already have. So you'll just have to match this. For example, you would need a 3-star Ascended War Maiden, 3-star Ascended Diabolist, so on and so on to fuse this champ. Keep an eye on your fusion champs. Keep an eye on your Rhazin Fusion. Get it done as soon as you can. It may take a while. Get it done as soon as you can. Very important to do. As far as efficiency, this is a very important tip. This is basically your money in this game. This is the currency that you would generally be spending real money on. So this is a very important currency. It can be accumulated as you go through the missions and do your dailies and play the game. It will build up over time. Resist the urge to buy these shard packs. It is very compelling to want to buy these shard packs because summoning is fun. That's the dopamine release. That's where you could potentially get the crazy champs. You're almost always going to regret this. In some cases, you will pull the great champ, sure. You are almost always going to regret this, and this 900 gems could be spent so much more effectively refilling your energy so that you can continue to play the game. You're going to get so much more out of progressing through the game using your gems as energy refills than you will summoning. So try to resist that. I think on this account, I have never bought one of those shard packs. I have never used gems on those shard packs. You want to use them for energy refills. You want to use them for champ expansion, and then you want to use them for your vault expansion, as well as your gem mine. Gem mine is a pretty important thing to get earlier in the game. The earlier you knock out the gem mine, the quicker it pays for itself and turns into profit for the rest of the time you're playing the game. It hurts. It's a big investment. You have to do it 3 times. It sucks, but it's very worth it. So get your gem mine. Beyond that, energy refills, roster expansion, storage expansion. Those are the things you want to be using your gems on. Not so much the sparring pit. I would hold off on the sparring pit before I start upgrading that, but gem mine, absolutely get to. Other than that, I feel like that's about it. Don't ignore your Great Hall. You can see we kind of put emphasis on one, and that's for the missions. The missions are going to basically have you spread it out a little bit early on. I think you're going to have to get like 3 to level 5, and then it's going to want you to focus 1. So accuracy is a great one to start on, and your starter's going to be magic, so getting accuracy on them is not a bad idea. And you get that from Arena. Just do what you can in Arena. I've got videos going over Arena and comps for different things. This is more just get you pointed in the right direction, get you moderately familiar with everything, and hopefully keep you from making some of the big mistakes like wasting your legendary tomes and feeding champions you shouldn't be feeding. So that's it for this video. I hope that this helps you. I hope that this saves someone from feeding champs they shouldn't be feeding. That is always heartbreaking when a new player comes into the stream or mentions in a comment that they have fed a champion that is very useful, like an apothecary or a cold heart, or even worse, sometimes certain legendary champions. So hopefully I've saved you from making some of those mistakes without going on too long. That's it. If you have any questions or any other tips that you would like to drop below, feel free to drop them. And if it's a question, I will do my best to answer it. And again, more tips are always welcome. I'm always down for you guys helping each other out in the comments. That's it. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoy the game, and we'll see you later.